Hi there. It is me, Dr. Brenda Bowers, the Queen Time Machine, here representing the kingdom time zone, 1 millionth of a billionth of a trillionth of a second at a time. And it's been a while, but it's February. It is Black History Month. And for decades, I have shared every day Black history facts. I have written original playwrights, musicals, songs, scripts, poetry, have worked with my family, the community. It has just been a glorious time. And even in this 66th year of life, here I am representing yet again. Well, we have some catching up to do. So I do not want to belabor the time, but I do have a presentation to help guide what we're going to do today. And today is February 8th, 2026. And we are going to have a little bit of a conversation, but I need to just talk to you about what we're doing, lay a little ground rules. Nothing has changed except you haven't seen me for a while, but the commitment remains the same. So here I am. This particular background, it was put in place. Originally, I did a presentation for an organization back in 2010, and I used this background. And guess what? It still works today. Facing the face of us all and seeing our future through the lens of the right now fleeting past. The parity of solidarity. 1 second at a time. It is me, your Queen Time Machine, Dr. Brenda Bowers. And I'm here to talk about his story, her story, our story, and their story. But first, do you see what I see? I have a couple of hashtags I would love for you all to add some of your own. You should be seeing this on your most favorite social media platforms. Hashtag Queen Time Machine, hashtag Kingdom Time Zone, hashtag The Black Fight is Always for Human Rights. Hashtag Solidarity Until We Are All Free. Hashtag 86,400. And hashtag The Order of No Borders. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about. And the parity of solidarity, well, parity is that quality of equality. So when we use the word parity, we're talking about the quality of equality. And solidarity, those of you who follow me already know the acrostic. But solidarity, in essence, is unity and agreement in feelings and in actions. So we're always talking about the quality of equality as we unite and agree on feelings and actions, on things that are important to us all. Solidarity, the acrostic, it doesn't change. This is an original from me to you. I do acrostics all the time. Some of you have been recipients of them. Whether you walk up to me and tell me what your name is and you want to know what it means, or if you give me a specific topic, I will give you an acrostic because that's just one of the things that God has blessed me to do. But when we talk about solidarity, I want you to know the acrostic is symbiotic oneness, like-minded indivisibility, deliberate alignment, respecting individuality, travailing yearns. Solidarity, symbiotic oneness, like-minded indivisibility, deliberate alignment, respecting individuality, travailing yearns. Our cries should be heard. So when I ask you to align with me, the parity of solidarity is we are coming together equally with our unique voices to gather around something we agree on. And we're going to take that 1% and forget the 99. That 1% that we agree on, we're going to give it 100%. And even if it's 0.01%, we're going to give that 0.01% 100% because you all know if you follow me, zero never means nothing because it's always up to something. And solidarity in a time when we need unity like never before. We need symbiotic oneness, like-minded indivisibility, deliberate alignment, respecting individuality, and travailing yearns. It's Black History Month. So what is a solidarity second? Because that's what I ask you for. My ask is simple. It is this. I'm asking you for 1 second of solidarity for every 1 minute of my post. And today is going to be a little longer because I got some catching up to do. So 10 seconds for every 10 minutes to unite around global safety, peace, and justice for all. And when I say all, I mean all. And I'm never going to monitor. I'm never going to follow up. I'm just asking. And maybe you will share this post or another that has nothing to do with me, but does have something to do with your own parody of solidarity, a relevant link. Maybe you'll just pause a few seconds for meditation. Maybe you'll tell a friend. Maybe you will celebrate hard and loud for those few seconds of solidarity. Maybe you'll engage in mindfulness or simple positive silence to promote a personal reset of focus for yourself. Now, these are just some suggestions. The facts, however, because there are some, are that if we expose ourselves to light, to music, to laughter, to movement, to gratitude, to self-affirmation, to compassion, to delivering a kind act, a smile, a pause to speak something positive to replace a negative thought, all of those can be done in a few seconds to a few minutes, and they shift the internal atmosphere of yourself and the external impact on the world. So can we change the world towards positive social change 1 second at a time? Absolutely. You're talking to the Queen Time Machine, and guess what? We already are. And I want to thank you for standing with me, the original Queen Time Machine, counting seconds for a better kingdom, a better queendom, a better freedom for all. So a solidarity second. If today's post ends up being, it's going to be a longer one because I got to catch up. But even if it were 60 minutes, all I'm asking you for is 60 seconds. Just 1 second to stand with me for every 1 minute that I share with you. And I want you to stand with me around global safety, peace, and justice for all when all means all. And I'm hoping somebody is standing with me already. And if you are so inclined, 1 second for every 1 minute is what I'm asking. But you may find that the solidarity second is worth more than one for every minute. So I want you to look at this background and then look again and see. And when you look at this background, I want you to see the we being collectively. We are the face of the entire world, the entire globe. Someone said, I am a digital citizen? Well, certainly we are global citizens. We are the face of the entire world. But I've come before you in this month of February. It's a little tougher month for me because I was raised with it being celebratory. Yep. My parents said when these historic days come up, you do not go to school before things were made local and federal holidays. Also, we did march and we did get posters and we got uh, cardboard boxes and stones and all kinds of things. And we stood for freedom, for liberty, for justice, for all. So I was raised that way. My mom, she was born on February 24th, 1930, and she transitioned February 9th, 2020, just a couple weeks before her 90th birthday. Every single year, our Black History programs were centered around celebrating our mother. And she made sure that we were so in tune with ourselves that we could only be connected to a world bigger than us because we were willing to go to the least common denominator, math students. And that is our relationship with God and our relationship with ourselves so we could have relationships with others. I miss her so much. I don't know when you're watching this, but whenever you are, it will be now. But let me tell you what now is for me right now. It is February 8th, 2026, and it is 6:32 p.m. by my Apple Watch that I'm wearing. And on tomorrow, that 6th-year anniversary of my mom transitioning, yeah, it's a bittersweet time for me. So I'm wearing her. This is her outfit, but I still have on my 86.4. If you all can see it, you all know what that means. So my goal is to be the same that I've done for years on end when I had her with me and since she's been gone. And that is to just share as much as I can because the lamentation gets to be more than the celebration. And then I have to pull back into the depth of the celebration so that I can honor the lamentation of the queen of the queen of the queen, the Black History Queen, my mama, Irma Lee Davis Cole. So there's just some of the things that she taught me. So I'm trying to catch up because I'm behind and I want to catch up so that by tomorrow, that transition day, I'm at a place to where I can give you one day at a time, sweet Jesus. But there are 86,400 seconds in every day. That many opportunities to say no, but I'm recapturing me so that I'm saying yes. Black History Month began as Negro History Week. How many of you remember that? It was created in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson. He was a noted African American historian, scholar, educator, and publisher, born before my mom was. And this creation was even before then. So this isn't something that's contemporary. So for those of you who think this is some newfound thing that we can just take off and put on when we feel like it, no, this is a culture, not a climate. This is our furnace and not our thermostat. It became a month-long celebration in 1976, a year that some of us know as bicentennial. And when we celebrated not only the bicentennialism of our nation, but some of us graduated that year from high school and from different businesses and were even born, and it was a year of celebration. But one of the things that we celebrated in 1976 was African American history becoming a month-long celebration. The month of February. Why was it chosen? To coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And I have a brother, phenomenal. I've told you about him before. Preacher out of sight, but he embodies Frederick Douglass during the month of February, and he goes around the entire country. Stephen Alfred Cole, and he knows everything about Frederick Douglass. And I know that in the month of February, I can never meet my brother Steve because if I encounter who I know he is, I know that I am actually in the presence of a contemporary Frederick Douglass. If you have never seen him, you need to book him. And he is on Facebook and he uses his own name, and it is Stephen with a V, Alfred Cole, Cole. But this month of February was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And then I have another brother, my baby brother, Dr. Carl Cole, who also goes around and he supports, from a Midwestern district, if you allow me to say that. He lives in Illinois. 1818 was our founding, Illinois. We talk about that. Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass debate in Freeport, Illinois, where we grew up outside of Union Dairy. Hey, if you were from Freeport, somebody give me a shout out. Anyway, Dr. Carl Cole, he has Young Eagle Soaring, who he does youth development with. And Black History is one of those times when he's incredibly busy. If you do not know him and you have youth that need to be connected to something positive, you need to find him. He's on social media also. You can find SOGN, Sounds of Good News, and the Yes Club, Young Eagle Soaring. He is located in Rockford, Illinois. And I have just an incredibly dynamic family. My oldest sister, if you think you've heard somebody sing you that and you think they're the best and their name's not Linda Garnett Cole, then you haven't heard the best singer yet because she is. We lost the phenomenal oldest brother. I called him Butch James Leroy Cole, and some think that my baby son, not a baby anymore, 35, getting ready to be 36, renowned attorney in his own right, but named James Leroy as well. And that is a gaping hole and loss in my heart because he was just an amazing savant on multiple levels. And we lost him in 2018, 2 years before my mom. And I have another brother who is now the patriarch representative, Clyde Alvin Cole, an electrician. I thought he invented electricity, and I thought that Einstein and Alexander Graham Bell. I just thought that they were fiction because I believed that my brother Clyde invented everything because he was just that smart and he was an amazing wrestler. And then I also have a brother Mike, and he and I are kind of contemporaries, 4 years apart. He to my senior, and he just celebrated his 70th. These are things that I know I can say. And he still has some records that have not been broken because he was the fastest sprinter in the Midwest. And he was my dance partner. And we won some trophies that we couldn't take home because we wasn't supposed to be out there. But I do want you to know that we won some. So if you were from Freeport, come on and give me a shout out if you're from our family. So that just gives you a background because James Alfred Cole, our dad, he sang Sweet Lorraine to my mom when she sang Route 66 at a competition, as the story goes. And then they ended up with the singing Cole family, and that's us. But we don't just sing, we are citizens of the globe. We work hard for our money. We have to have integrity. We were raised to be honest. We were raised to not expect anything for free and that there is no free lunch. And we were raised in a time where we never knew we were poor because we were so rich in everything we were given, and we performed during a time when racism was at its height. But we were raised in a way that we didn't even know it existed in the manner in which it did. Amazing people. Now, my mom, I've told you about my February piece with her, but with my dad, and we lost him when I was 14. He was 50, but I get to have a birthday in the same month as his, in fact, 2 days earlier. So just some fun things to be part of a family and to get old enough where you can celebrate what you see on this screen, where you can celebrate the face of the entire world in solidarity. So look and then look again and see the we collectively, because we are the face of the entire world. Throughout the month, I have to use this particular recording so that you can know exactly what to expect as I'm catching up to tomorrow being the 9th. I want you to choose life because life is power. We are in a time where I need you to choose life. You need me to choose life. We need to collectively choose life because life is our power. And we need to know who we are and we need to declare it. We need to know what's on each other's mind and we need to express it, because if it is internal to you and I keep it internal to me, then we are not carrying the stories, his, hers, or free, the dumbs behind those kingdoms, queendoms, freedom, is because an expression has been made courageously so that we can know what's on each other's mind. And then we're going to take the reins that we've been given. We've been given a gift and we've been given a powerful gift. And the reins that we have as we reign as regal royals, the reign is one of freedom. And the only reason we won't have it is if we do not look and look again and see the we in collectivity, because we are the face of the entire world. And when we choose the power of life and when we declare that power because we know who we are, and then we express that power because what's in our minds can be expressed, because we're not going to waste it and we're not going to keep it within. And then we're going to take the reins that we've been given and collectively in solidarity, the parity of solidarity is that the right side of the equal sign is freedom. So the choice is to choose. And when we don't choose, then we've chosen to lose. Not choosing is a choice. The choice is to choose. When we don't choose, then we have chosen to lose, because not choosing is a choice. Shamelessly share it. Just give me credit because that comes from me. The saying, not the concept. So we must not or stop surrendering our choice to live for anyone. Don't stop wanting to live. And yes, I too have had the days of wanting to stop, but that would have been a choice to not have parity of solidarity when all it may take is one fraction, 1/1,000,000th of a billionth of a trillionth of a second of the 86,400 that we're given every day. And guess what? The white population continues to surpass the Black population in suicide rates, but you may not believe that if all you're doing is seeing disjointedly and without solidarity. And this is according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Center of Disease Control.gov. Check it out. And that rate differential is 2 to 3 times higher. So the white population actually commits suicide 2 to 3 times higher than the Black population. It's Black History Month. So I am speaking globally, yet I will give some specificity so that we can call out our power in the parity of solidarity, because the equation isn't even that hard. 16.9 per 100,000 of the white population commit suicide. That's a stat from 2000 to 2020 versus 7.8 per 100,000 Blacks versus 7.5 Hispanics. So Hispanic suicide rate is even lower than the Black populace, both lower than the white population. Well, this is that second of not choosing life and the power of life. But hold on, because the Black population continues to surpass the white population in homicides, not in suicides, but in homicides. So work with me. Yes, I am a doctor, and neither of them are what's up, doc. I have a doctoral degree from Walden University in conjunction with the University of Bloomington, Indiana, and from Marquette University. And if you look both of them up, they're both quite credible. I'm a researcher scientist, okay, and I am a practitioner. And whether that is in health or whether that is in human services or whether that is in religious organizations or governmental institutions, whether that is in a for-profit arena or whether that's in a not-for-profit arena, I take very seriously. I have educated so that I can be a change agent. So when I sit in this seat, one that I didn't ask for, but one that I have chosen once I was asked if I was willing to be chosen, then I had to make a choice to choose, and I have. And then when we don't choose, then we've chosen to lose, and we need to win, y'all, because not choosing is a choice. So when we look at statistically, our white brothers and sisters commit suicide at a much higher rate than our Black brothers and sisters, but our Black brothers and sisters continue to surpass in homicide rates in both victims and offenders. Victimization rate is 6 times higher than that of whites, and the offender rate is 7 times higher, 7 to 1, according to FBI, according to the Bureau of Justice System. You can go to bjs.ojp, so you can look at those Office of Justice Programs.gov. So we have this lack of parity and certainly incongruency and solidarity. But we use these terms so flippantly that we throw everyone into the bucket, and it doesn't matter. I don't care which face you see. I just want you to see the face, because whichever face you see, what do we see? And whether suicide or whether homicide, where is the parity in our solidarity? The power of life. The power of life, whichever way it ends. I am appealing that we stop ending it. Data suggests that Blacks have an innate propensity to live. We desire to live, but a tendency to remove that propensity from others. And the others that we remove it from are typically of Black descent as well. So as much as we're not willing to take our lives, we're willing to take the lives of others, and we're willing to take the lives of others who look like us, walk like us, and talk like us. So then the parity of solidarity has incongruency because we're looking through a lens where we're not seeing us. So I want you to look again. Life is power. BIOTA, BIOTA. You may hear it any of those ways. What it is, it's a population of individuals of the same species in its same geographic area. This is often attributed to plants and animals. I want us to consider the biota of the thing. I want us to know that we are biologically alive and we're not plants, but I will tell you this, the research says that even if you talk to a plant bad and you give it all the same conditions to the plants that you talk good about, the ones that you talk too good will live longer and be more fruitful than the ones that you don't. Go look up the research. I didn't understand it because my mother had me milk those leaves of those philodendrons and those mother-in-law tongues that she had. And they sure did live. They sure did flourish. But if I would have understood the research as a little girl, I may have considered the biota consequence, the choice to choose this population of individuals of the same species in the same geographic area. Even a plant chooses life. Time. So once we have life, we're put into this thing of time. You all have to follow me, go back and look me up because this is my whole thing. There's 60 seconds in a minute, and we've been changing the world 1 second at a time for 60 seconds for a really long time. My 1 minute posts are still out there, and people still ask me to do them. That means there are 3,600 seconds in every hour, 86,400 seconds in a day. I keep that on me somewhere at all times. That means there are 2,419,200 seconds in a 4-week month and 31,536,000 seconds in a 365-day year. And guess what that equals? Power. That 4-letter word of time, that biota word that is a 5-letter word gets us down to 5 plus 4 equals 5. Because that's what happens when you count and you look again. Because number 8, when we do this, when we come together of the same species in the same place, and we use our greatest asset of time, and then we choose to maximize our time properly, we get power. And now we don't have to argue about which of the biotas commit suicide more or which ones commit homicide more, because what we know is that we can just choose life, not only by propensity, but by parity of solidarity. So who are you to you, not who are you to everyone else, because we can answer that question, and many of us know how to be whatever it is that we need to be when we need to be it to whoever we need to be it to. So this question is, who are you to you? A little learning indeed may be a dangerous thing, but the want of learning is a calamity to any people. Frederick Douglass. You gotta want to know. Spare me the grim litany of the realist. Give me the unrealistic aspirations of the optimist any day. The late Colin Powell. If you do not like being around yourself or your own company, then why should others want to be around you? And that comes from me and my #1 bestseller, World Changers and Difference Makers. Relationship with self and then with others actually increases health. So whether suicide or homicide, when life is removed, when we disrupt the biota, when we get into a space where we no longer want to be in this place called the globe of life, then we are not going to be as healthy. Our lifespan is not going to be as long, and we will not enjoy life. Connected by Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler. And these are historic, so these aren't even really new contemporary because, again, I told you, this is an older presentation that I am going back to provide you with. And there was one thing that I wanted to make sure that we did here. Who are you to you? Take the time to assess yourself. I want you to assess your dreams. I want you to assess your aspirations. I want you to assess who you want to be and never, ever, ever surrender your mind to anyone. Do not love anyone so much that you will give them your mind. And anyone who wants your mind does not love you. It can never be stolen. The only thing we can do to our mind is give it away. And yes, there are times that we want to give it away because we get frustrated with ourselves. Therefore, we are going to, in that 1% that we can agree with, we're going to give it 100%, or that 0.01% that we agree with, we're going to give that 100% because zero is never about nothing because it's always up to something, and we are going to shift from negative thinking to positive thinking because we're choosing life. Positive thinking is optimistic, victorious. We're winners. We're self-reliant. We're interdependent. I can rely on me, but I know that I need you. And I am full of faith when I do that because if I'm negative, that means I'm pessimistic. I'm defeated. I'm a loser. I'm totally dependent and I'm faithless. So this is a very important point before we get into our daily Black history facts. And that is we must be willing to be reliant upon ourselves, choosing us, and then knowing that we are interdependent because we need each other. My relationship with my creator, my relationship with myself, before I could ever have a relationship with anybody else. No, you really don't want somebody to love you better than they love themselves, because if they love you better than they love themselves, then that means they become totally dependent, and the interdependence doesn't exist because now the self-reliance has been taken away. I'm giving it to you for nothing except some time. So now we got to take the reins of our life back because we've given them up and it's frustrating. And now that social media is so social and we get things so immediately, then we're getting so frustrated and we're giving up the reins of our life. But the only thing we can do is give it up. No one's taking it from us. We really do have rights. But until we stop asking permission, then we're never going to be in charge of the global liberty, his story, her story, liberty's story, kingdom, queendom, freedom. Satchel Paige said there ain't no man who can avoid being born average, but there ain't no reason why a man has to be common. Differentiate yourself. Jesse Jackson said, if my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. It's still true. So remove all excuses despite the barriers. And yes, on February 8th, 2026, there are a lot of them. But if we are willing to coalesce around the 1% and the 0.01% and not give up our mind, not surrender it, and not take our hands off the reins of the power of life, we can remove all excuses despite the barriers that we're currently contending with. And then we have to own our decisions, but decide wisely because all decisions have consequences. So when someone tells you, oh, well, it doesn't matter, all of it matters. Every decision matters because every decision has a consequence. You're going to reap what you sow. Karma is coming. Well, that's one way for us to say it. Or you're going to reap what you sow. And thank God for karma because my decisions have consequences and I can now decide if they're going to be positive or negative because I can say no to suicide and homicide because life is power. I can get from BIOTA all the way down to power by making decisions, understanding that every single one has a consequence. Consequence is not a cuss word. It's just the right side of the equal sign of choice. So take the time to plan, do it right the first time. That's what my parents told us. Do it right the first time because there might not be time to do it again. And if there's time to do it at all, then there's time to do it with excellence. And there is still a gap in the lifespan between white and black. And actually, that gap has increased to about 14 years. Why? Why? We are united, and we are united by faith because we've come this far by it, but we are also united by faith. We are united by faith and we are united by faith. Look at this face. And then look again and tell me if you see what I see. Do you see the we? Unapologetically, I use scripture, Philippians 4, 1 through 5. Therefore, my brethren, dearly beloved and longed for, my joy and my crown. So stand fast in the Lord, my dearly beloved. Oh, that sounds like a love letter, and he was writing it from prison. I beseech Eudias and I beseech Syntyche that they be of the same mind in the Lord. So I'm talking to both. And uo is like euro stress. That means good. And syntyche, often considered a three versus a two-syllable word, gives us the synergy. So there's an opportunity to be good and synergistic in these two people that Paul was writing about while he was sitting in prison. And then he said, and I entreat you too, you true yoke fellow, because you together whether you think you are or not, and there are reins at play. Help those women that have labored with me in the gospel. They labor with Clement too, and with other my fellow laborers whose names are in the book of life, even if they're not in the canonized Bible. I need you to be good to these folks that's been good to me. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. So we get to that, but do we really consider verses 1 through 3? And then let your moderation be known unto all men because the Lord is at hand. I'm not telling you to be extreme. I'm just telling you to take the reins, live, choose life. There is power in numbers, even when the number is 0.01%. We give it 100% and we change everything. Then he says, be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication. And then with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Don't be sleeping on the job of your life. Don't be sleeping on the job of your mind. Don't surrender your thoughts to anything that will alter them from the optimal thinking that you deserve to have. Because then you can have peace, and the peace of God, and it passes all understanding. God's peace goes beyond is contained in our own mind. So we can give up our peace and then end up in that statistical divide of suicide and homicide, in that situation of one populace living longer than another populace. But listen, whatever's true, whatever's honest, whatever's just, whatever's pure, whatever's lovely, whatever of a good report, if there's any virtue, if there's any life, and if there's any joy to life, then I want you to think about what's true because you're true. I want you to think about what's honest because you are honest. I want you to think about what's just because you are just. I want you to think about what's pure because you are pure. I want you to look in the mirror because you might not think that you're handsome with your handsome self or that you're beautiful with your beautiful self, but think about it because you're lovely and have a good report, have clean hands so that if there's any life and if there's any praise, it is coming from your mind, which is such a terrible thing to waste, and we're not going to waste not one more second on it. So those things which you have both learned and received, Paul said, and I say to you, and that you've heard and that you've seen in me, do those things. Yep, I could say I'm in prison and I'm all down and out, and they say they're gonna kill me, and they ain't giving me no food, and other folks getting baloney, and I ain't getting nothing, and they locking me up, and ain't nobody putting nothing on my books. But instead of saying that, I want you to know the things that you have learned, received, heard, and seen in me. Do those things because I'm interdependent. I'm self-reliant, but I'm interdependent. I need you, you need me. So do these things, and the God of peace, keep your mind, he's going to be with you. We are the face of the world. When one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one which has been opened for us. And this comes from somebody that was a deaf, dumb mute. You know her name, Helen Keller. Some of you watched the movie where she said water, and we wait until the end of the movie so we can say it with her when she pumps. Because Helen understood a life where you didn't see whether the door was open or closed, a life where you couldn't hear whether the door was open or closed, a life where even when you touched it, you didn't know that what you were touching was a door. But before she left this world, she said one door of happiness. Happiness, not even joy. The choice to be happy. When a door of happiness closes, another one opens, but we can look so long at that closed door of what used to make us happy that we miss the door of joy that's calling our name. A man does what he must in spite of personal consequences, in spite of obstacles and dangers and pressures. And that is the basis of all human morality. JFK Jr. Thank you, sir. Because we got to do what we got to do. Because we know that what we sow, we're going to reap. And we know folks are saying karma's going to catch up with us. But even though we see obstacles, and even though we see dangers, and even though we see pressures, that's part of all humanity making a choice to choose life, power, the pursuit of happiness. So even if while all we can feel is a door, we know the one that is open and the one that is closed. So we're going to engage in the human race fight for creation rights. I'm going to talk to you about Black History Facts every day in February, and this is the context. So I want you to go back to this video so that you can always have this basis for why I'm saying what I'm saying. And I want you to know I'm posting this, but this is more than a course that you would pay a lot of money for, or even a degree program if you want specialization. But why am I sharing? Because in my self-reliance, I know that I need you and that you need me. And I'm role modeling it because it's not about whether we can legitimately dissipate. The goal is, how about we mediate so that we can meditate? We got to choose life because we're in a human race fight right now. And we got to fight for creation rights. All of it, all of us, the entire globe. So we have to choose life. We have to know ourselves. We got to get and keep our mind right. And as we do that, in this process that I have here for us, why? Because we're empowered to live. Can you just pause and give me a second of meditating on the fact that you are empowered to live? Therefore, you have the power to choose life on your worst day. Take control of your life because our life depends on it. I have to take control of my life because your life depends on me doing so. You have to take control over your life because my life depends on you being in control of your life. And we have to do it by doing what? By what I'm doing. We got to tell stories so that we can stay motivated, dedicated, alive, and a relevant force to be reckoned with. And yes, I could be spending my time telling you all the reasons that you haven't seen a post from me since the beginning of the year. But I don't have time to do that because the seconds are escaping and I need us to have parity of solidarity so we can move this ball, this globe, into the orbit that understands that The human race fight is about creation rights, and we have a right to reign. So, facing the face of us all and seeing our future through the lens of the right now fleeting past, because whenever you're looking at this, it is now, but now was gone, and looking into the future because all of this is happening and we always only have now. Even when we're looking at the past and we're looking in the future, they are all coming together. And the one thing we know we have is right now. So the parity of solidarity, 1 second at a time, 1 day at a time. In February, we are facing what was. We are going to foster what is. And we are writing, and I have RIGHTING, but we are also WRITINGing this thing because it is righteous rightness and it is the right time to do the right thing, but we need to write it so we can tell it. And when we look back, we have it codified because what was, what is, and what is to come is his story. It is her story. It is our story. It is their story. I just have one question. We're not in December no more, but do you see what I see? Just look. And if you're somewhere where you can chat or where you can share, what do you see? When you look again, what do you see? Do you see solidarity until we are all free? Do you see the hashtag of the Black fight is always for human rights? Do you see that the order of no borders is in order, bound by the globe and freed by the same? Do you see what I see? Or tell me what you see. So when we are in our individuality, we can step into our interdependency and keep it all positive. So now let's get to February. And I got to catch up. And I'm going to do it fast. And then we're going to end because I need you to give me that second back, that solidarity second. I need it from you. You need these from me because I believe in this other 4-letter word, FREE, free. And freedom comes with the highest price that we could imagine. There is no free lunch. And free is only free when we are self-reliant, recognizing our interdependency. What happened on February 1st? So now we're going to look back, we're going to consider what is, and we're going to look into the future. I have not caught up to the new data. This is an old slide. So it is really, really, really history. And until I am back to where I need to be, which tomorrow is the 9th. I've already told you a little bit of a tougher day. I'm dealing with lamentation and celebration. So you know that I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you. But I'm going to tell you still some historic things. And then how about you give me some contemporary ones? Share with me things that have happened since the last date of what I'm sharing with you for each of the Black History Nuggets of February. On the 1st of February, National Freedom Day in 1865, President Abraham Lincoln. 1818 was our founding Illinois. That's why we have our bicentennial. Abraham Lincoln approved the 13th Amendment. You can't count to 13. Completion is 14, but that means somewhere between 13 and 14, we got to get it together because slavery was formally abolished in the United States, 1865, 13th Amendment, February 1st. The Greensboro Four in 1960, North Carolina, A&T students began a sit-in at a segregated Woolworth's lunch counter, sparkling a nationwide movement. This is so important because I was born in 1959, but we had a Woolworth in our small town. And my parents made sure that we went there and we sat at the counter and we ate a submarine sandwich. And now, it's just a sub, and everybody has these different um, types of subs, but we called them submarine sandwiches because they were so big, they were so long, they looked like torpedoes. And our parents took us when we sat at the counter of Woolworths. Well, we didn't know what was going on. But because there was a sit-in 1960, by the time I came around and I'm sitting at a counter of a Woolworth, the five and dime shop, where this huge sandwich called a submarine was just the coolest thing ever. What I did not understand was the choice that was made to take us somewhere where a sit-in had occurred in North Carolina in 1960. Langston Hughes, incredible poet, novelist, and leader of the Harlem Renaissance, was born on February 1st in 1901. Some think 1902, but that is his birth date, not his death date. And sometimes it is interchanged, but he actually lived to be 85 years old, and his death date was in the month of May. The first Black Supreme Court attorney was in 1865, not 1965. So let's stop acting like the first just happened. 1865, John S. Rock became the first Black attorney to practice before the U.S. Supreme Court. 1865. Thank you, sir, for choosing not to surrender your brain. In Selma, Alabama, demonstration in 1965 that ended with 700 people being arrested, including the arrest of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Good Times. Do we remember that? 1974 is when it premiered. It was a landmark sitcom that premiered on CBS. And in 1997, seems like a little while longer, but really not so much. But BET, Black Entertainment Television Movie Stars, in 1997, the first 24-hour Black movie channel. BET Holdings and Encore Media Corp launched BET Movie/Stars, the first 24-hour Black movie channel. So yes, subscribe, like, and share. February 2nd. So look and then look again and see the we collectively, because we are the face of the entire world. Black History Facts, February 2nd, 1914, artist Williams Ellsworth was born in Washington, North Carolina. He was educated at Syracuse University, and he was a student of Florida artist Augustus Savage. His works were exhibited at the Atlanta University, the Whitney Museum, and 2 centuries of Black American art exhibit Fisk University, Hampton University, the North Carolina Museum of Art, and private collectors. And that artist, Williams Ellsworth, was born on February 2nd in 1914. 1915, biologist Ernest E. Just received a Spinard Medal for his pioneering in cell division and fertilization. I told you I'm a researcher scientist. This is the kind of stuff that keeps me ticking. And now I know why I can't surrender the cells of my brain on my worst day. And the seconds when I feel like somewhere between those statistics, I may sit. What I must do is pause and see the interdependency of he and she who have gone before me. 1897, Alfred L. Crail invented the ice cream scooper. Did you know that was invented by a Black man? Patent number 576,395. Look it up, that ice cream scooper. Go get you some ice cream, get a scooper, and know that a Black man made the scooper in 1897. 1839, inventor Edmund Burger, he invented but did not patent the spark plug, but he did invent it. And yes, I am one of those girls that was raised with boys. And yeah, I know I knew how to pull out that engine and I could change those spark plugs. It didn't matter if it was six of them, if it was eight of them, and then some of them had 12. Yep. Thank you, brothers. 1862, District of Columbia abolished slavery. And in 1950, somewhere abouts, Irma Lee Davis Cole, that's my mama, she was inspired to write an original jingle for Groundhog's Day. And we know Tony this he was supposed to be 140. He did see a shadow, supposedly in 2026, just a few days ago. But my mother wrote a jingle for it so that people who look like me, walk like me, talk like me, and I am number 6 of 7, so those that went before me would be able to say, oh, Mr. Groundhog was tired of his hole, they say. So he crawled out on February 2nd, and they called it Groundhog's Day. And if he sees his shadow, there's 6 more weeks of cold. Then he crawls back into his hole. That's what I've been told. And I can sing that right now because an incredible poet and lyricist knew that it was important for children like me before she knew that I was going to be in the world, and certainly didn't know that I'd be coming through her womb. But she was making history when queendom wasn't cool. Thank you, Mama. February 3rd, 1920, Negro Basketball League was founded. That's really not that long ago, is it? And in 1943, Reginald F. Lewis was born on this day in Baltimore, Maryland. He received his law degree from Harvard, not Howard, but Harvard Law School in 1968, only differentiating there so that we know it wasn't even an HBCU, but he actually ended up going to an Ivory Law School and he graduated. He was a partner in Murphy, Thorpe, and Lewis, the first Black law firm on Wall Street. And in 1989, he became the president and CEO of TLC Beatrice International Food Company. Lewis became the head of the largest Black-owned business in the United States with revenues of $1.54 billion in 1992. Thank you, sir. In 1956, University of Alabama had the first Black student, and it was Arthurine J. Lucy. She was the first Black student to attend the University of Alabama, and she was expelled 3 days later for her own safety in response to threats from a mob. And it was in 1992 that Arthurine Lucy Foster graduated from the university. Yeah, you can count those years, with a master's degree in education. I have a master's, one of them in adult education, master's of science, not just one of arts. And the same day, her daughter, Grazia Foster, graduated with a bachelor's degree in corporate finance. Let me tell you another Black history secret because of this. In 2015, on May 15th, without it being planned, I graduated with my second degree with an executive doctorate in nursing practice from Marquette University. My oldest daughter graduated with her PhD in education and leadership from Cardinal Stritch University. And my youngest son graduated from Marquette Law with his degree in law, and he has other certifications. And my oldest daughter got all kinds of other degrees. Now, these are my bookend children, and the three of us graduated on the same day with our doctoral degrees. Amazing. And it is a fun fact that most people don't know. And those are my bookend children. Let me tell you, the ones in between all have a minimum of a graduate degree. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Glory to God. And I didn't even know about Arthurine J. Lucy, but hey, my mama was there. She was able to stand there. In fact, she took all of our degrees and made sure that she was holding them to take a picture because she said, you're making history and her story because it's our story and it's their story. And it is kingdom and queendom for freedom. Thank you, children. Amazing. Nothing but a hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Glory to God. In 1981, the Air Force Academy drops its ban on applicants with sickle cell trait because that used to be a thing. It is still a thing, as is sickle cell anemia, and it is a disease that still takes lives, with the majority of those lives being people who look like me, walk like me, and talk like me. But the Air Force Academy was not allowing individuals, not with sickle cell disease, but just with a trait, would not allow them in. But in 1981, they were able to apply and get in. And in 1989, former St. Louis Cardinals first baseman Bill White was named president of the National League, and he was the first African American to head a major sports league. February 3rd, I'm just catching up, y'all. February 4th, 1794, France's France abolishes slavery. So here we have some little global salt and pepper in here. The nation will have a lukewarm commitment to abolition and will, under Napoleon, reestablish slavery in 1802 after France had abolished it in 1794, along with the reinstitution of the Code Noir prohibiting blacks, mulattoes, and those of you who don't know what that is, that would have been someone who was of mixed race. And mulattoes usually manifested because there was a master involved who ended up having a child by either one of those house slaves or one of those field slaves. And then that child had to be brought up in this other thing called mulatto, and other people of color from entering the French colonial territory or intermarrying with whites. So even if your daddy was white, and your mama was a black slave, you could not marry someone white under this France law, which was also practiced in the United States. And in 1913, Rosa Parks, who was born Rosa Louise Macaulay. She was born on this day in Tuskegee, Alabama. I do, as my mom, in my acrostics, I also do lyricist things, and I was with um, two of my younger grandchildren, and one of them was reading about Rosa Parks. And so they always say, Grandma, can you teach us a song? So I had a little song about Rosa Parks, and I won't give you all of the verses and choruses, but we do have them. But they what they really loved and they kept singing it was I said, if Rosa don't ride, Brenda don't ride, we're gonna boycott, 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 yeah, a boycott, 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 yeah. Because if Rosa don't ride, we don't ride, we're gonna boycott, 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 yeah, a boycott, 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 yeah, because that's what happened. Because Rosa couldn't ride, we found out the power of the black dollar. Even though now money stays in communities the longest in Asian communities, followed by the white community, followed by the black community, followed by the Hispanic community. And all of those are days long. Dollars stay in the black community less than a day. In fact, we're down to about 12 hours. Yep. Asians spend the most there, stay almost in their own community for almost a month. And then our white brothers and sisters and our Hispanic brothers and sisters, all of them support each other. But the dollar in the black community only stays in the black community for less than a half a day. In 1971, National Guard mobilized a quail rioting in Wilmington, North Carolina, through the 9th of February, and two persons lost their lives. In 1986, a stamp of Sojourner Truth was issued by the U.S. Postal Service. I remember that. Do you? And let me tell you something. If you didn't write letters, you were going to, because I know my mama made me every city I went to, I had to get a, a page of those Sojourner Truth stamps. And my mom used them so much and so that before my mom transitioned, she got her own picture on a stamp. Sure did. And I tell you what, we We call it backing. We back those letters, back those envelopes, and I sure put a stamp of my mama on them and put them in the mailbox. Black woman, the queen, just like the Queen of Sheba. And I want you to know that if I mailed it, you got it if it was addressed to you. In 1996, J.C. Watts becomes the first Black selected to respond to a State of the Union address. These are huge things. Look and then look again and see that we collectively, we are the face of the entire world. I'm just calling these things out because it is Black History Month and we need to call it out because we have to call out our self-reliance so we can call out our interdependence because the trick is for us to be a legend in our own mind. And then when we say that we are not independent at all, then we become dependent on the society instead of creating a society that is interdependent, made up of us all. February 5th, 1866, Congressman Thaddeus Stevens offered an amendment to Freedom's Bureau bill authorizing the distribution of public land and confiscated land to freedom and loyal refugees in 40 acres lot. 40 acres and a mule, it's a real thing. It's not a fantasy and it's not a video game. The measure was defeated in the House by a vote of 126 to 37. A Black delegation led by Frederick Douglass, aka Stephen Alford Cole, called on President Johnson and urged ballots for former slaves. The meeting ended in disagreement and with controversy after President Johnson reiterated his opposition to Black suffrage. In 1934, Henry Home Run King Aaron, baseball superstar, was born. 1950, singer Natalie Cole, daughter of legendary singer Nat King Cole, was born in LA, singing professionally at the age of 11. And by 1976, Cole had won Grammys for New Artist of the Year and Best R&B Female Vocalist. I got love on my mind. You know, she just was amazing. But still, there is someone named Linda Garnett Cole that you would want to listen to. In 1958, Clifton R. Wharton Sr. He was confirmed as a minister to Romania. A career diplomat, he was the first Black to head a U.S. embassy in Europe. And in 1962, on February 5th, suit seeking to bar Englewood, New Jersey, for maintaining racial segregation, elementary schools filed in the United States District Court. 1990, Columbia University graduate and Harvard University law student, Barack Obama became the first African American named president of the Harvard Law Review. Let me tell you something. Whew, I'll hold that because I have to remain politically correct. Thank you, sir, and Michelle. On the 6th of February, 1820, United States population was 9,638,453, and the Black population was 1.771 million of that, 1,771,656. So that was 18.4%. The Mayflower of Liberia sailed from New York City with 86 Black ships arrived in Sierra Leone on March 9th. 1820, the first organized immigration back to Africa begins when 86 free African Americans leave the New York harbor aboard the Mayflower of Liberia. They are bound for the British colony of Sierra Leone, which welcomed free Blacks as well as fugitive slaves. Thank you. In 1867, the Peabody Fund for Black Education in the South was established. Anybody on here that can tell us that they were recipients of that fund? 1870, Jonathan Jasper Wright was elected to the South Carolina Supreme Court. In 1898, Melvin B. Tolson, the author, educator, poet, was born. In 1945, Bob Marley, Jamaican reggae star, was also born. 1933, Walter E. Von Troy was born in Washington, D.C., and he went on to become a District of Columbia delegate to the House of Representatives. And in 1961, jailing movement started in Rock City, South Carolina, when students refused to pay fines and requested jail sentences. Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee urged Southwide jail, no bail campaign. Jail, no bail, because that is parity of solidarity. Because if Rosa don't ride, we don't ride. We boycott. And it worked in peaceful protest. 1972, Robert Louis Douglas, founder and coach of the Wrens, is inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. This is February 6th. That's 1993. Tennis player Arthur Ashe died. I remember that day, and it was a very sad one. Ashe was the first African American to win at Wimbledon. In 2020, Tracy McQuarter, MPH, launches 10,000 Black vegan women through a series of online 21-day vegan fresh starts to change the health paradigm for Black women, because she was willing to stand up and say, you know what? Something ain't right with our diet and we need to do something. And it takes just about 21 days to change one behavior. So it is not an arbitrary time, but this is when you say the thermostat changing ain't working. We got to do something other than just change the temperature in the room. We got to get a new furnace, y'all. And we're going to do it in 21 days. On February 7th, we getting there, y'all. 1872, Alcorn A&M College opened. 1883, UB Blake, pianist, was born. 1926, Negro History Week was originated by Carter G. Woodson. It's observed for the first time. And in 1976, Negro History Week became Black History Month. And in 1944, Alice Walker was born. And this esteemed writer, activist, and poet was the first Black woman novelist to win a Pulitzer Prize. So if the question is, has there ever been a Black woman to win Pulitzer Prize? Absolutely. In 1944, it was Alice Walker for literature and the National Book Award for her third novel. The Color Purple. How many can tell the truth? Did you get that right on the test? Did you get that right? But I do want you to know that your Queen Time Machine, I am a 3-time international #1 best-selling author, and we get to have bragging rights under the umbrella of humility, because the self-reliance allows for interdependency versus dependency when we don't share our mind and when we don't even recognize that happiness has a door and is one. And in 1945, Irwin Mullison was appointed the judge of the U.S. Customs Court, and in 1946, filibustering the United States killed the Fair Employment Practice Committee bill. 1965, comedian, recording artist, actor, and talk show host Christopher Julius Rock. Yep, some of y'all know him as Chris Rock. He was born in South Carolina, and he will become a critically comedian hosting the self-titled show on HBO. He also brought to the forefront a boycott of the flag at his place of birth, and he went on to star in and make several movies on his own. So when we look at Chris Rock, make sure that you're remembering the right things, because there is a solid rock in the Chris, and we need to make sure that we are standing on it and highlighting it. 1974, Grenada achieves independence from Great Britain, and in 1986, Debbie Thomas becomes the first Black woman to win a national figure skating title. So you daughters that want to go out there and figure skate, just know that in 1986 there was a Black woman and she won national figure skating title. And in 1991, Aristide was sworn in as the first democratically elected president of Haiti. And now, these seconds of solidarity, I'm already at February 8th. And that's today. Whenever you're seeing this, is now. And on February 8th, in 1894, Congress repeals the Enforcement Act, which makes it easier for some states to disenfranchise African American voters. And in 1925, Marcus Garvey entered federal prison in Atlanta. Students staged a strike at Fisk University to protest the policies of the white administration. Boycott, boycott, boycott. Yeah, 1944, Harry S. McAlpin, first African American accredited to attend White House press conference, ended up with a press card and got in. In 1968, officers killed 3 students during a demonstration on the campus of South Carolina State in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Students were protesting segregation at an Orangeburg bowling alley, and it was a peaceful protest. And 3 students were killed. And in 1968, on this day, also, Gary Coleman, some of you remember him. He was born in Zion, Illinois, in the state where I was born and raised. Despite a childhood of medical troubles, he went on to become a television star in numerous situation comedies. And I know you remember him. What you talking about, Willis? 1978, Leon Spinks defeated Muhammad Ali for heavyweight boxing championship. Now, some will call this black on black crime, but we saying it black on black props. This is black on black commencement. This is black on black celebration. Ali regained the title on September 15th, and he became the person to win the title 3 times. 1985, Brenda Renee Pearson, an official court reporter for the House of Representatives, was the first Black female to record the State of the Union message that was delivered by the president in the House chambers. And in 1986, Oprah Winfrey becomes the first African American woman to host a nationally syndicated talk show, of which my mother was on one of those talk shows, and we still have that video and her picture. 1986, figure skater Debbie Thomas became the first African American to win the women's singles of the United States National Figure Skating Championship competition, and she was a pre-med student at Stanford. I'm just talking about celebration and not lamentation. 1990, Andy Rooney, a CBS 60-minute commentator, received a 90-day suspension from work because of racist remarks about African Americans attributed to him by Chris Bull, who was a New York-based reporter for The Advocate, a biweekly national gay and lesbian news magazine that was published in LA. Bull quoted Rooney as having said during an interview, "I've believed all along that most people are born with equal intelligence, but blacks have watered down their genes because the less intelligent ones are the ones that have the children. They drop out of school early, they do drugs, and they get pregnant." 1990, the year that my youngest child was born. And let me tell you something, my mother had us protest because it was a huge deal to be told in a public quote, as a people being watered down. My mother said, "We're going to show you what watered down is." And let me tell you, she took us and we did a boycott, boycott, boycott. Yeah. And we're still here. Thank you, Mama. And I'm going to end today by giving you a glimpse of tomorrow. Because February 9th, only 6 years ago, I was able to say in 1902, Anita Jules Shanks Craft was the only child of educators David Sylvestus and Eliza Balfour Shanks. She was born, and it was also the long civil rights movement of Texas's birthday. And in 1906, Paul Laurence Dunbar, African American poet and author, he died from tuberculosis. 1940, I had uncles that died from tuberculosis. I saw it up close and personal as an ugly disease. 1940, John Maxwell Coetzee, novelist, critic, and translator, was born in Cape Town, South Africa. In 1944, Alice Walker, the first African American to win that Pulitzer Prize for fiction, she was born the 8th child of sharecropper Willie Lee and Minnie Lou Grant Walker. 1952, our author Ralph Ellison's novel, Invisible Man, won the National Book Award, and in 1965, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. met with President Johnson to discuss Black voting rights. And on February 9th, 1971, Commissioner of Baseball Bowie Kuhn announced the first member of the newly created Negro wing of the Baseball Hall of Fame, Leroy Satchel Paige. Page's amazing near 40 career saw him pitch in both the Negro Leagues and Malord Leagues. In 1995, Bernard Harris, mission specialist, first Black astronaut to take a spacewalk. And in 2001, Diana Carroll addressed a world summit against cancer, meeting in Paris, keeping up the good fight, winning the crusade against cancer, because Diane Carroll was a breast cancer survivor. And some of us knew her as Julia, the first and only Black nurse that we knew. And some of us became nurses because she was a television nurse that we didn't know was only on television. And in 2005, I.C. Davis on February 9th, 20th century renowned African American film and television artist and Broadway actor, passed away in 2005. And it was one of the saddest days until February 9th, 2020. Irma Lee Davis Cole, most prolific, profound poet, lyricist, author, playwright, mother of the Illinois history family singing Coles. She transitioned from this life to glory in my house where I'm at recording this right now. My mama. I tell you, she is the one who said, you celebrate, Brenda. You don't just lamentate. When I saw her lose her mother, I didn't think I would understand what it felt like because I thought I understood the pain when my grandmother died. But she was my grandmother. She wasn't my mother. 6 years ago, in just a few hours, it became the most devastating day of my life after I thought I had seen the worst of them. And she told me, you're going to be all right. It's time for me to go see my mama. And I said, you taught me a whole lot of things, Mama, but you didn't teach me how to live without you. But I want you to know, y'all, I'm choosing life. And I understand that life isn't always an easy choice. I understand that. So I'm asking you to help me choose life. So as we close today, if I can stop sharing and show you me again, I will, if it will allow me. Here I am. So these seconds, however many they end up being in minutes, I anticipate that you'll see me tomorrow, but if you do, it's still going to be now. Thank you for being with me while I'm catching up. And I know you can't really see it, but I still got my 86.4. That's how many are in a day. And we're going to choose to keep our mind, because if we give it away, it's because we chose to do so. No one can take it from us. But if we don't bind together, we can certainly surrender it. What is it? It is the parity of solidarity. It is why we are together. And we shall not surrender our life by suicide or homicide. We shall not surrender our minds. We shall not surrender our motivation. We shall not surrender our history, nor her story, nor our story, nor their story, because our parity of solidarity means that we're looking for the 1% that we agree on versus the 99 that we don't, and the 0.01% that we agree on versus the 99.99 that we don't. And we're going to give that 1% and that 0.01% 100%. And we are ready to change the furnace and not just the temperature on the thermostat. I believe that I got some folks who behind me can't really see it. The weight of the crown is heavy, but we don't take off our crowns. We just adjust it. Some of y'all who know, we say cap me so we can breathe. Been doing that for a while. Whether it was Trayvon, you fill in the blank. We know what's going on in the Midwest right now. We know what's going on nationally right now. And we know what's going on globally right now. But you know what else we know? We win. Why? Because we're winners. I have you, you have me, we have us. So when I come back, you know when it's going to be. Now, because it's always only until soon. It's me, your Queen Time Machine, representing the Kingdom Time Zone, 1 millionth of a billionth of a trillionth second at a time, because the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords said, it's my history, but I put the story in each of you, and I put it in you regardless of your ethnicity, your nationality, your religion, your politics, your socioeconomic status, and anything else that classifies you in that biotic. You know what I give you? The opportunity to have parity and solidarity. It's always only until soon. Agape and shalom. Thanks for catching up with me. Just 1 second for every minute that you shared this time with me. Until soon.